Way and sissy kids, way and sissy kids, way and sissy kids, way and sissy kids. Hey trailblazers, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about why you, my friend, needs to rest. So many times we're so consumed by the day-to-day activities. We like wake up, we go to work, we come back, we cook and then sleep, and then that's like a daily routine, and we rarely actually really create time to ourselves. So many times we're busy taking care of other people, our families. We're taking care of everybody that's important to us except our own selves. So I'm actually going to share some bit of a story of what happened to me. So when I gave my life to Christ, I started serving in a particular ministry. I served in every ministry within that ministry, like from ushering, protocol, the the cleaning staff, leading prayer, which is intercession, and literally everything. Like I did everything. I was also part of the leadership, and what I didn't realize was how much of my energy it was taking. It was exhausting when the exhaustion and fatigue finally caught up with me. Like I just no longer wanted to do everything. Like, you know how people are like, hey, woman of God, wow, you're so powerful, and they don't know how much time I've had to spend in prayer and how much time I've had to prepare just to speak or to share with them just one sermon. Like I remember this one time I preached a sermon that was titled Don't Settle for Safe, and that sermon took me a month to prepare. Like from the vacation I was preparing, like just writing it down, 1 month. And then from that 1 month, like 2 weeks of prayer and fasting, just to make sure that that was, I know I was a little bit extra, but still, you know, when you're serving God, you still want to have, like, you need to have that little bit of fear to know that, you know what, you don't depend on yourself, but then you depend on God in everything that you do. If you're no longer afraid, then woo, something's probably wrong. But that's a story for another day. So I served and served, and then I was finally exhausted to the extent that I left all the WhatsApp groups. I left from the union that I was part of, and I just wanted to be by myself. I was at that point whereby I did not want any duties to be assigned to me, and I even let go of some of my leadership roles, and I said, you know what, I just need a break from everything that's got to do with serving. It is because during the course of the time that I was serving, I hadn't actually given time to myself to just, you know, there's this saying by actually Cornelius Lindsay. Is like, you can't keep taking from a well that's dry. You can't keep drinking from a well that is dry. I got to a point whereby I no longer had anything to share with people. Like, people were constantly coming to me. They needed words of encouragement. They needed me to strengthen them, to pray with them. And I didn't even feel like praying. Get me right. I'm not saying that we should not serve God. By all means, let us serve God. But there are ways of ensuring that we don't get to that point of being so exhausted that we just can't take it anymore. Since I'm going to church feels like an obligation simply because my parents are going, I also have to go, or simply because I was already serving, so I just have to continue so that people see that I am coming to church. That is really, really besides the point. Remember how Jesus had to go away from the people sometime, how he had to run away from people that were following him. He went up the mountain to pray. Sometimes even the source needs to be filled. You get it? Every source also has its source. So that's the same thing. Jesus also needed to be filled so that he can have something to give. Because nobody can give what they don't have. You can only give what you have. So we have to get to that understanding where we understand that, you know what, sometimes you need that sabbatical, sometimes you need days off to just be with yourself, to get in touch with your own spirit, soul, and body, rather than just giving and giving and giving. And then when you're done, you have nothing left to give. And then the exhaustion is far beyond explanation. Like, you just want to keep to yourself. You don't want to talk to anybody. Like, at some point I was a very bubbly person. I loved people, and then it's all just faded. Like, I didn't have energy to love people. I didn't have energy to be bubbly at all. And some people thought I changed and I was no longer praying, or I wasn't Christian anymore. I could tell from the comments that they were giving, like, oh, we missed the console, we know. I'm like, guys, I really haven't changed, but I'm just in a state and in a season where I'm really just tired. And all I need is for God to touch my heart. And you know, the funny thing is that sometimes God allows us to go through the silent seasons whereby we feel like He's not communicating, He's not talking to us, He's not responding to our prayers. Like, when I gave my life to Christ, honestly, I had this massive experiences. I would dreams, and I could directly and audibly hear the voice of God and so many things like that. But then they just got a point whereby I had to trust that God is God, even when I didn't feel the Holy Spirit necessarily moving inside of my body like I used to do. Like, there are days when there are no chills, you don't feel any chills, you don't fall when you're prayed for, and you don't fall or you don't even cry when you pray. But then there are days whereby you're just like, oh Lord, and then you're crying and weeping. But there are days where I had no feeling, no emotion. I didn't feel the power of God moving in my life. And in that time, that's when I really got exhausted. And then now I was trying to convince everybody that I haven't changed. Nothing about me has changed. But I'm just in a silent season whereby I'm not hearing God. I'm not feeling His presence. Because sometimes, or rather the greater part of the times as Christians, when we have this one experience at the beginning of the year, that keeps us going up until a certain point. But then at some point I just stopped hearing. And I repented of my sins. I did this, I did that. But it was my silent season. So I went away for a while, very, very long while. Like, I thought it would take very little time, but then the damage I had done to my own self, because I wouldn't listen to how my spirit was feeling and how my body was feeling, it took a really huge toll on me. So I thought it would like take a few months, like 3 months, but then I think it's like 2 years later. And somehow I still feel like I haven't returned to that place. But I want to encourage you that even when you yourself don't exactly feel like you're in the right position, in the right place, God is always with you. It doesn't mean that you have lost your faith. It doesn't mean that you don't believe anymore. But I just want to encourage you that just keep going. So even in those seasons where we don't necessarily feel it, we should be able to know that God is with us, and God is our strength, is our salvation, is our refuge, and in Him we can drink that water. He is that well that will never run dry. And when we drink from Him, we will never be thirsty again. But always remember that taking a sabbatical, taking some time off, is not something that is wrong, but it is something that is so good. It is good for your own spiritual growth. It is good for your own happiness. Like, there's so much joy in trying out new things. There's so much joy in seeking the Lord in many new ways. But I'm not saying to leave God's presence. Always stay in God's presence. But be able to do things like delegating work to other people. You don't have to do everything by yourself as a leader. You can actually, give duties to other people instead of doing everything all by yourself. That will leave you with some bit of strength. All you can do is just supervise. I'm not saying be lazy as a leader. Our duty as leaders is to set an example for people to be able to follow that example. So do the work, but also distribute the work, delegate the work, so that you don't have to do everything all by yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you, who is the leader, is exhausted, what about the rest of us who are the congregants, or the rest of us who you're leading at your company? So it's important that you take a good rest. Take a rest here and there, Have time to yourself, time with your family, time to bond with your children, time to bond with your siblings. And then that way, when you are a happy wife or a happy girlfriend, then it means you're a happy minister. When you're a happy soul, a happy consolata, then it means I am a happy YouTuber and I'm bringing quality content to you at all times. So I hope that you found this helpful. In those silent seasons, when you don't really continue to trust God, knowing that God is with you all the time. I love you so much, and I want to thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. I want to thank you for watching this video. And if you have such an experience, if you have had such an experience, do comment in the comment section below. If you found something particularly interesting or something that you can relate to, please drop your comment in the comment section below. I thank you and I love you so much. Bye.